So, all right. Okay. So today we'll be having a discussion about how to improve the team's morale. I plan to have this as a a conversation between Scrum Masters over here. So it's not a lecture, because I know we have a handful of Scrum Masters here, and I'd like to hear from you guys how you also improve your team's morale. So I have outlined, I think, about 5 points that we'll go through, and then that will be the driver for our discussion today. All right. First of all, let's try to understand what morale is, right? What do you understand by morale? This is what I was able to get. Morale is the collective set of attitudes, emotions, and satisfaction exhibited by employees. Does everyone agree with this? Feel free.
Yes.
Agree? Okay.
Yes.
And, thank you, Terence. And you can see that I put in there, teams with high morale collaborate better, take more pride in their work, and consistently improve performance over time. Increased communication leads to improved team morale. So what I'm trying to say here is communication is key. It's a very key factor. If we increase the way we communicate amongst our teams, you will notice that their morale will start getting better. You know, a low morale team will tend to not be hitting their goals. They'll be slacking, not coming into work. But a team with high morale will be always excited to be at work. I mean, I know we're all Scrum Masters, but we've all been in teams before, and we've all been in some jobs where, you know, if you're not into it, you don't really feel like going in. You just want to come home and sleep. So that's the background about morale, and I just wanted us to have an understanding before we proceed. Any questions? Any additions?
Just out of curiosity, so I'm new to this group, and I was just searching for, so where I work, it's the first time I'm in a safe environment. And I'm working as a product owner. So I know this is kind of off topic, but at any time today or any of your other sessions, do you go over safe principles and the role of a product owner?
Yes, we do. We even have one product owner here too. His name is Kek.
Okay.
All right. So for today's session is just for today, we just have a topic we're just going to go through.
Okay.
To see how we work with our teams and how we improve their morale. But we do meet Wednesdays, every Wednesday, 8:30 to 10:30. And during that time, we have interview prep sessions. And we have days like this that we bring topics on board. Anyone could bring a topic and also facilitate. So we have days we talk about safe. We have days we talk about Scrum.
Okay.
So we're glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's my first time in a safe environment, and I've always been a business analyst, but I'm honestly overworked. I'm wearing the hat of a BA and a PO, and I just need some clarity from some people who are already doing this type of work. So maybe discussion afterwards or anytime. So yeah.
That's me in the right place. We're glad to have you. All right, so proceed. Slide 3. So over my experience, I've seen that clearly defined roles for all team members are where all team members are aware of what each person is responsible for is very important. So it's important that when you're working with the team, you are able to let the team understand, you know, what they're supposed to do. So let's say you're in a Scrum team, right? I mean, the team has to know the roles and responsibilities of a scrum master, of the product owner, and also of what they're supposed to do, and even what the stakeholders are supposed to do. So it's always important to let the team have this understanding, so there's no confusion anywhere. Has anyone been part of a team where it's like they're all disorganized? Anyone have any experience? Nobody understands what the team is all about, what they're supposed to be doing?
Um, I think I've been, so this is Tracy. I have been in a team where, so I had a product owner, and I don't know, because we did not have clearly defined roles and responsibilities. He decided to schedule all my scrum meetings, run them, do backlog. He was just all over the place. And then sometimes I try to take over the meetings and, we'll catch fire on the call. So I've been there, and I think defining rules also helps the team become high performing. So I absolutely agree with this point.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay, so basically it's important we define team roles, and also after that you craft a working agreement. A team without a working agreement will be dysfunctional, because anyone will come to meetings and not know what to do, because they don't have guiding working agreement that they want to work with. When I say working agreement, it's basically just rules and regulations that a group of people come together to have an understanding. So let's say, for example, like Agile Mindz, right, like this, right? We know we start our meetings on Wednesdays at 8:30, and then we get off at 10:30. During the meetings, we should try to be respectful of each other. If you have a question, put it in the chat. Oh, we have a product owner. We all know that the product owner is responsible for moving stories to done. So that's just an example of working agreement that team has, So in case you have a new team member join, you just have to go through the working agreement with the new member, and then if he wants to add something, he could add it. Having such things as we have been said kind of boost the team morale. Everybody will be on the same page. The main goal here is to ensure that we are all on the same page. All right, any additions before we move on to the next item?
I have quick things to add here. Basically, when you are defining roles, it's not only the team member, even defining the roles for the external influence players, like our customers, whoever you call as a stakeholder on the team. So we need to define their roles also clearly. Either it may be traditional project managers or program managers. What is their responsibility towards the Scrum team? Defining them clearly and communicating that so that they can understand very well. That also plays a very crucial role in defining the roles.
All right, and that brings us to our second point, which is communicate clear expectations to team members. So as the last speaker said, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was even raising my hand. I guess you didn't notice.
I think for some reason I'm not able to see.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to clearly highlight the difference between team charter and working agreement, because these things sometimes it tend to interwove. Some organizations use team charter, and then some organizations use working agreement. So I just want to say if they are one and same or they are different.
Okay, so a team charter, from my understanding, is basically like a document that defines your goals, your assets, and then your obstacles. Basically, it's like a product roadmap, except it's just for a single team. So it basically focuses on your deliverables. You guys understand what you're supposed to deliver at the end of the day. So you try to map it over time. That's what I understand about team charter. Anyone here want to add to my explanation? I mean, I know we have a lot of Scrum Masters over here, so add your 2 cents.
I think a team charter and a working agreement is kind of the same thing. Where it differs is when you talk about a project charter. Now, a project charter will state the business case, the benefits, and all of that. But I feel like the team charter and working agreement are kind of the same thing.
Thank you. Any additions?
I would like to add possibly like a working agreement where it highlights the pillars of Scrum, where the team agrees to be transparent if there are any issues, like people, should communicate, so that way, I guess the team should know how to go about helping, or the Scrum Master can help, I guess, in removing those impediments. I'm guessing.
No,
So I
that's good. That's a good addition. Thanks.
This is Sapna. I come from so this is all new to me, like Agile, Safe. So I come from the PMP, project management world, and I think in all words, we're calling it different things, but at the end of the day, it's a communications plan or a statement, a standard operating procedure as to, outline how the team will operate and communicate with each other. In the older days, you could think of it as a SOP. Yeah, internally.
Yes, Sapna, this is a little different in the sense that here the idea is for the team to agree how they will interact with each other to get their work done. The communication goal and everything in the traditional waterfall world was a little different. You have different stakeholders. How do you communicate? How do you escalate? How do you resolve escalations, right? That's very broad, and it goes into a lot of breadth and depth. The team agreement is just to try and focus on how to get the work done that they are going to take up, ideally in a sprint. That's how it is. It's really kind of granular, 8, 10, 12, 15 points. That's it. Simple.
Yeah, and to add something, it's easy to assume that team members know what to do based on their participation in past projects, right? But that is very risky because assumptions, when you go to a team and then you start assuming stuff, it gets everybody, you don't really be on the same page. So that's why we need working agreements. So we all come together to be able to, be on the same page and then have a clear understanding of where we are. So we all know that we as a team, we have a working agreement. We're going to abide by this working agreement. And also we're going to try as much as possible to use it as we're doing our work. And all these go a long way to improve your team morale, because now everyone is on the same page. Everyone is ready to just go by that. Thank you, Jobin, and thank you, Sapna, for that. Any more additions before we move on to the next item?
I want to add one point. Since Sapna says she comes from a PMP background, it is a traditional waterfall methodology for a software development. When you are planning to pitch in as a product owner, so plainly you can tell them, hey, I'm coming from this background, I'm learning these things. You start your pitch with this statement, then team will overwhelmingly accept you, and even you don't know, they will teach you. Okay, that's the way. If a new product manager or product owner starting on an agile or a safe journey, that should be the starting point. I think everything can be learned here, but that's the way forward for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay.
Great, thanks.
All right. Next one is, I said, holding retrospectives on a consistent basis. It's a great opportunity for the team to communicate where they can improve and offer constructive feedback. So basically, retrospectives are a time to inspect and adapt, right? So if you are always having these sessions, it will go a long way to improve our morale, because we know that we have this session to be able to know, are we going the right track? Are we having issues? And it gives the team a time to be able to, speak up and then talk about issues that they are facing. So that way they understand, they are honest about, the issues they are facing, and they know that we trust them enough to speak up and then outline problems that they are facing. So this is one item that I put up for us to just have a quick discussion. Any additions to this?
Yeah, I would like to add one point, Felix, here. I love this retrospective. So out of all the ceremonies of this Scrum, this is one of my favorite thing, because this will reflect the whole thing, good, bad, everything. Okay, so this is a very good platform to collect the feedback from the team and encourage everyone to speak out. Okay, and collect them and change your plan accordingly. And to add on to this one, I'm currently reading one book called Fun Retrospectives. Maybe it's from Paulo Caroli and so I will put that one onto the team chat. So this is a really good platform to open up our team members so that we can change that incremental into your next sprint planning.
Thank you for that addition, Vijay. Anyone have any ideas?
So I have a question. So with our retrospectives, or I guess, so we talk about what went well and what needs to improve and what needs to stop. So our Scrum Master will write those points down, but then for the things that need to change, who track that?
You said who tracks that?
Like, how do you track it? How do you go about tracking?
Okay. All right, so
like an action item, we use Jira and Confluence.
Okay, so I see Humphrey has his hands up. Humphrey, you're talking on mute.
So one way you can track that is there's a couple of ways. If your company, if your organization allows it, you could go ahead and create an improvement story. That's one way of going about it. Other times it suffices just to have action items, and it'll be up to you, the Scrum Master, to follow up on that. Either reminding those who have to do the action or whatever goal that they had. That's something you can continue to remind them or implement or what have you. But I've used both. The action item list, if there's something I have to do or facilitate, and improvement stories, so which will go with if like one of the developers needs to do learn a new program or something, or attend a DevOps course or something. That's what I'll do.
Awesome. Thank you, Humphrey. I see two hands up, but before I'll go there, Kek put in the chat, yes, we use Confluence to track the retro. My Scrum Master would follow up on the items that needs attention. If there is something I can do, then I also follow up. Thank you for that, Kek. All right, so Ivy, your hand came up first. So Ivy, go ahead, and then Khadija will go after.
Hi, thank you. So one thing that you can also practice is during your sprint planning, after you come up with your sprint goals, what I always do is I add my action items to my sprint goals. So as we go throughout the sprint and we address the sprint goals, that means that we always have visibility to our action items as well. So it's kind of like a constant reminder to the team to not ignore it. So that's just a practice that has been working out for me. I also love the idea that Humphrey created an action ticket where, you know, it's visible on the board, where your team will always have access to it, assign it to the people that are, you know, working on it, whether it be tasks or stories or whatever it is. So.
Thanks for that addition, Ivy.
I have a question. So, Ivy, when you say assign, from my understanding as a Scrum Master, we don't assign anything, or in that particular situation, you would assign the action items?
Well, it depends on what the action item is. And what I do is I like my team to own a lot of the process change that they want to implement. Because what I realized in the beginning is I was owning a lot of the action items. It was just overwhelming. And I realized that the team was mostly dependent on me to kind of find solutions for them. So once in retrospective, we actually vote on who would want to take up on an action item. If it's something that is process improvement, I always urge them to own it. If it's something that is out of their control, then I take up on it. I think it's just a way to, you know, basically achieve your goals as a Scrum Master, which is building a self-managed team, right? Self-sustained team. So if you allow your team to own as much of, you know, the improvements and the process changes as possible, for me, it's been working very well for my team.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ivy. Khadija? Hey, Khadija. You're mute. All right. So also, okay, Vijay has his hands up. Vijay, you could go.
Okay. I think Ivy covered pretty much everything. When in a real-time retrospective, when team come up with likes or dislikes or suggestion, anything, as a Scrum Master, while doing, start categorizing those things, whether these issues needs to be addressed. It belongs to a different bucket. There will be different types of buckets, whether it is a feature development, process related, tools related, or any resource issue. Bucket them all together in a different bucket. When you finish your retrospective, as Ivy said, start voting on those things and take only one high priority item for the improvement. So if you take 10 items, you will be not able to do the existing feature software development. So only take one or two improvements in the upcoming sprint planning meeting and then address it during that two-way bi-weekly or three-weekly sprint planning activities.
Thank you, Vijay. Khadija, are you still there? Okay, so I'll go ahead and lower your hand. One other thing we also need to know is during retrospectives, you need to celebrate big wins. You need to always encourage the team and let the team know that you did a good job during the last sprint. You know, call people out who did great jobs. You know, as you're saying, you're doing your what went well, what didn't go well, what you should get better. And you could put, folks that you know did a great job, or maybe you want to call a product owner for doing a great job, for writing good stories. We appreciate you. So you have to appreciate the team. You know, let them know you appreciate them. You like the work they're doing. Those kind of small stuff would increase their morale. You know, they would see that you're recognizing the work that you're doing. Thank you, Vijay. All right, so we could move on to the next topic. So you should always prioritize team productivity over individual productivity. What I do, well, in my current environment is, I mean, you know, developers are prone, they are kind of used to saying, I did this, I did that. So I try to let them know that it's not that they're we are a team. So we don't want individuals in the team. We want us to see us as a collective whole, you know, Because if I find myself in a situation that I know is going to drag the team down, I'm going to ensure that, no, that's not going to happen. Let me give you an example. For instance, let's say when we used to go to the office, right? One employee it faces like an hour commute each way every time they go to the office. And then they realize that, oh, me being on the way, me driving all the way to the office, I spend a lot of time on the road before I get there. But whenever I get to the office, the value that the team gets from me is higher than me just staying home. So I just, okay, I'm going to put the team's needs before mine, because it's convenient for me to just stay home and say, I want to work from home, right? But I see that anytime I go to the office, everybody's being productive. So that is me putting my individual needs down and also thinking about the team needs. So it's always good to prioritize, team productivity. I always encourage my team to always see it as a whole. It's the sprint goal. Let's say during sprint planning, you guys come with the sprint goal, right? I know the user stories make the sprint backlog, which all meets the goal. But don't be thinking, this is my story, so this is what I'm going to do. Oh, I'm done with my story, so I don't care what Ryan is doing. It's Ryan's story. It's a teamwork. If I'm done and I'm free, you're encouraged to go to Ryan. Ryan, do you need help? Do you need me to assist you? We could peer program. We could work together, that way, we all get things done. And then when we win, the team has won. That is how I try to use this to improve my team morale. Anyone want to add anything?
All I can say is I agree with you, but the consensus is that since people have been working remotely, that people are not, team is not working as hard enough is what I always hear. And like the cameras are not on and little things like that. And there's speculation that maybe they're doing other work or what have you. But I agree. One of the biggest problems we have is when it comes time for the actual demo of at the end of the 2 weeks before sprint planning. It's always excuses like, oh, communication is the big problem. Front end didn't talk to back end didn't talk to front end, and I'm trying to encourage them to do story level communication. That's helping. And we even made it a point to do working sessions via WebEx for like 2 developers to work with each other all day just so they can get the story done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an example of the working agreement to have the cameras on in a remote environment.
Okay.
And it's best for the team to just take up what they can do and preferably work in a slicing mechanism, like go from right up to from the UI up to the DB level, right? So they can take less, but your ideas are good that they can work together. So there are a lot of individual creative ideas which will come from the team themselves to see how they can make sure that they are delivering to their commitments.
All right, thank you, Jobin. Thank you, Sarah. Anyone else want to add anything before I go to the chat? I see a lot of back and forth in the chat. I just wanted to read some of the chat, but Larissa, I see you're trying to say something. All right.
So this is
I thought I was going to say something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so like what you described, Felix, I think that is the reason why we have developers, but we don't have this integration where we say we have testers or we have report developers, but we call all of us as developers. But this is where maybe I want to know. So if you have a member of a developing team who's always behind, and because we call ourselves as developers, we want to get the work done. How do you handle it? I'm not yet a Scrum Master, I'm a developer. So in that case, how do you handle it?
Okay. Anyone want to give a shot?
When you say you're behind, can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what that looks like?
Like when the sprint starts, we create tasks and assign it to team members or developers to work on, right? But at the end of the sprint, we account for it as the developers who are supposed to do it. And like Felix said, you don't say I did it, but we did it. So if you fail, it's the developing team that has failed, especially like if you are developing, or maybe the whole Scrum team, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
And if you win, it's the whole team that has won. But we have individual tasks that we have to deal with. So I finish my task, I come to maybe Felix, say, Felix, do you have something going on that I can help with? I pick it. And if it becomes consistent, that the person is always behind in the sprint, that somebody has to pick some of his load, how do you handle that?
Okay, Ivy, do you want to answer before we go to Humphrey, then we go to Vijay?
So I think as in this case, I think we would have to kind of look at the Scrum Master to see how they would approach or how they would address that particular developer. Maybe they just need more resources. Maybe they need some knowledge transfer, whatever it is. But like you said, it doesn't matter who's pulling their weight, who's not. It's not fair. And I think that is why our roles as Scrum Masters are so important. So we can identify and pull out a lot of these things that are missing within the team. So I think for you as a developer, you're doing the right thing by helping the team. Don't think that you're carrying the load by yourself, right? But you are helping a team effort. But what you can do is you can maybe point it out to your Scrum Master to see if maybe you can pair up with that particular developer to see what kind of resources or what kind of knowledge you can help or transfer to that developer. Maybe they're just lacking, maybe they're not as experienced as, you thought. Maybe they need a little bit more insight on the product. It could be anything, but I think that is, as a Scrum Master, or your Scrum Master should maybe look a little bit deeper into that developer and the team, and how the team can also help that developer catch up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Ivy. Humphrey?
I will also look into communication plans. Sometimes the developers, they like to work in silos, right? So I always, for my teams, I like to, even create another chat. Now that we're all remote, this actually works well, that you create a chat based on the story, right? And I'll invite everybody to that chat for that story, and I will provoke conversations about basically a spin-off of what I heard on the DSU or any just anything that, or another meeting that that I probably was in with the developer, just to prompt the conversation. And I always make communication the main goal, all right? Because without the communication, there is no real team building. You have to break down those barriers, and also to have a little bit transparency on what you're doing, and this works well, with pair programming as well. Like if you want to go ahead and, especially if you're trying to catch somebody up to speed. Like I have a QA guy that needs to be caught up to speed a lot. So I'm constantly prompting him to get with the senior one. I'm messaging privately to the senior one to get this guy on board. And just having that kind of communication going, and it's visible, helps with the team building eventually. And then eventually, I mean, there's stages of this where, the team, where individuals on the team actually act as a team, then when you're actually coaching them to be a team. So there's stages in that.
Thank you, Humphrey. Vijay?
That was a good one, Humphrey. Actually, this everything starts from the sprint planning meeting. During sprint planning, every whole team agrees on how many story points they could be able to do it in a given period of time. And once they decide it, Scrum Master plays a crucial role in assigning those and for monitoring those story points. So for example, if you are usually a Scrum Master monitor the burn down chart and burn up charts in order to identify where the team is performing or where the team is lacking, how many remaining story points we need to complete within a given period of time. So usually it's not the developer. Majority of the responsibility lies with the Scrum Master to direct the team where it's going, and if any help is needed, he can request the team so that we can complete the sprint goal. It's no more a developer work. It's a sprint goal and it's teamwork at the end of the day.
All right, thank you, Vijay. Felicia.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
What I was gonna say, well, I guess I agree with what everyone else said. I was gonna ask a question. So would this be like where you kind of, as a team, you guys kind of reevaluate, like maybe you guys are kind of committed to too much, I forgot the word, like you're committing to too much at that specific time when you guys are doing your sprint planning, when like would that be the point where the Scrum Master kind of like go back and review, like when they're doing the sprint planning, if they're kind of committed to too much, and if they are, like, is it that when this developer is picking up whatever task that they want to pick up, is it that they're taking more than they can actually finish at that specific sprint? Like how would that be something, yeah, the team capacity, thank you. Like, would that be the time that you guys kind of reevaluate that and say, okay, maybe we're doing too much of that and let's kind of reduce it as a team? Or would that be that you just continue helping that developer every single time?
I see Vijay came off mute.
Yeah.
Ivy.
Okay. Is someone answering, Felix?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so basically this all drive from the team velocity. Usually Scrum Master knows the team velocity, how much as a team we can complete either 10 stories or 15 stories, and he knows what is the team velocity. Based on that team velocity, he will pull all the story points in the sprint planning meeting, and team will start prioritizing them and assigning themselves. Nobody tell them, okay, you do it. So team will only nominate their names. Okay, hey, I'm good at it. I'm able to do it. Assign me 2 story points. And B person comes, okay, assign me 3 story points, and these are just a QA activities. Assign me these 3 QA points. I can do it like that. It's only the team-driven assignments will happen. Only the Scrum Master will guide the team. Hey, we, based on our past experience, we can burn 10 story points or 15 story points, and then team will pick up the stories and assign. They will tell Scrum Master, okay, assign me three or 2 story points, and then they will start working on those things. It's all entirely depend on the team, and team will decide those activities while they are executing in the working in the sprint planning meeting. So once the sprint planning meeting is over, so we know what to do, and during the sprint duration of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's only team will discuss about how they are executing those story points.
Oh, sorry, can I?
Felicia, I hope that answers your question. All right.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Myla? Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to chip in real quick. So I think we're going, if I'm correct, off topic. The question asked from, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. He had asked that just in case you have a team member like a developer falling behind on project after project, in that instance, what do you do? If that question is correct, then this is just to add a point to what Ivy had said. For me, this is when one of your roles as a Scrum Master kicks in, which is coaching. If I have a team or a lead developer, falling behind, to get tickets, which is stories completed. The first thing I'll do is I will reach out to that developer just to have a one-on-one conversation as to know how I could help. Sometimes you have people going through personal issues. The team is not aware about. So that's something you want to put in place as well. Make the team member feel very comfortable, speaking to you, relating to you what the issue might be. Other times, maybe they don't have the required resources or, pretty much equipped to how to deliver on those tickets. So that conversation would be, hey, do you know anyone in the team? Correct. Yeah, she said psychological safety. Correct. Yes. So that's when I'll be speaking to my team member to say, hey, is there anyone you feel would be of assistance, you would like to work with? That's where the pair programming comes to play. And you find that most of the times your developers give you a name saying, yes, I wouldn't mind working with, XYZ, and as a Scrum Master, that's when you take the lead, reach out to that next team member and just pretty much explain to say, hey, do you mind, working hand in hand with this person? You wouldn't mention the challenges really, but just try to give like a basic information. Then you do a follow-up plan with that team member. Sometimes I give you like, 10 days follow-up plan just to see where they're at, how comfortable they are, are they still struggling? Then, you could now have a different coaching to say, let's go ahead and, get you trained on these resources, on these tools just to get you better. And that's just something you could do. But if you have tried all of this and that team member is still falling behind, then this is very safe to say, okay, maybe we have to find maybe a different project for this team member, or a different environment where they could work. But yeah, that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Myla. That was great. In Tracy, I hope I mentioned your name right. Please correct me.
Yep, you got it right. I think Myla is right on point. But to add to the Scrum Master's role of coaching, I think most teams have the kind of tech leads or delivery leads. This team member who is struggling might just need more CATI or knowledge transfer sessions. It could be in the form of a demo. It could be in the form of documentation that is probably saved somewhere and he has to probably go back and read it and see how things work. Another thing that I have done in the past is kind of already you've gone through the backlog refinement and stuff. You're about to start a new sprint. Ideally, I ask my teams to go through the stories, assign yourself a story and go through it before day one, analyze it. Which means by the time you're done analyzing, it means you've understood the requirements, you understand the expectations. And so when you're coming in, sprint has started day one. If you're coming in and you're not sure, then you will have questions for the product owners. Probably in the DSU, you connect with them and then you take it offline. But ideally, work with delivery leads. After coaching, work with delivery leads. Get CATI sessions, make sure people pick up stories and analyze. They should break it down in the story in the comment section. Break it down to make sure you understand. Do not start the sprint and a few days later you're asking questions. That's, I feel like it slows down everything. So that's just what I wanted to add. And then another one was probably encourage teams to have tech dojos. Simply means maybe Friday afternoon, we organize something, and we set a test. Okay, we want to see who is able to code this, and that. And then people come in, it's fun, but it kind of helps people get new skills. And if you don't know something, probably you fail the test, then you will learn from the person who won that game. So coding dojos to a way of getting team members who are behind, bringing them up to speed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Uma? Uma, is that still a valid hand?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be brief because Milo, I believe, touched in depthly what I was gonna say on what I was gonna say. Before you can help someone that's struggling, you have to know what's the reason they're struggling. What's the problem? Right? You can't fix something without diagnosing the problem first. So you want to have a one-on-one with that person and understand what are the reasons why they are not able to complete their work or they are struggling, lagging behind. So, like she said earlier, just meet with the person one-on-one, know if they probably don't have in-depth knowledge about the tools that they're using, or they need more knowledge transfer before you can do anything about it. Also, now that everybody's working pretty much remotely, sometimes people just don't put in as much effort as they will if they are working in the office. So it could be that this person is just not probably taking their work seriously. All these are factors you can put into consideration. That's what I was gonna say.
All right. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. So we've had a really good discussion, but one thing that we could get out of this is communication. When I started this session, I said communication is the driver for what? Team morale. And this topic, as this particular section has let us know that it's very important we have an open communication policy with our team. You let your team know that, look, you can reach out to anybody on the team. You can reach out to anyone if you're facing any issues. You encourage peer programming. And then you have, we all use Teams, some use Slack, some use whatever communication portal that you use with your team. Have it open so that the team will always feel like they have somebody to reach out to. I always encourage my team to let them know that everyone here is here to help. We are one team. We are not individuals in a team, but we are just one group. I had I'm actually facing something like this right now. We had a new developer who joined. Well, supposedly a senior developer. But the team actually noticed he's not pulling weight. So they reached out to me and let me know that this is what's going on. So what I did, I reached out to him. When I came back from vacation, I reached out to him. How are things going? Is everything okay? Do you have all the things you need? If you're facing any issues, you could reach out to anyone on the team. He said yes. So just yesterday, I noticed something like that again. I put him in because he reached out to me. He said he's having issues accessing Jenkins and he's having some VPN issues. He thinks it's the VPN. So I linked him to the right folks that could help him. But then the particular story he's working on has nothing to do with Jenkins. What that has to do with GitLab. So looking in the story, I noticed, no, this is wrong. So I reached out to him like, do you think, do you really understand what is needed to be done in this story? Feel free to let me know so I could find the right people who could come in and, clarify things for you because you're part of sprint planning. He still insisted it was Jenkins. It was still Jenkins as the issue. I'm like, are you comfortable if I pull in one of the developers here to try and assist you? He said, yeah, okay, I'm comfortable. And he mentioned the name. So I pulled that person in and then they started talking and I just backed out, put myself on mute. And then after that, he understood what was needed to be done, and that is how I was able to, try to solve this issue. So communication is key. Always have an open door policy. Let's just let them know you're always there to assist them. And they should feel free to reach out to anybody on the folks. Developers have the tendency to work in silos. So it's always good for us as Scrum Masters to always reach out, let them know I'm here. All right. Any additions before we move on to the next item? We are almost getting to the end of this session. All right. Set clear, measurable goals that the team can work collaboratively towards to achieve. I think this is very straightforward. When you're working with the product owner set the goals, right? So you always encourage them to use the SMART model. I always say that during planning. When he comes in with the proposed goals, And then we are talking, we go through the sprint backlog, we go through the items, we populate the sprint backlog. The goals change, obviously, due to, what the sprint backlog, what the sprint backlog, the content of the sprint backlog. So when we are changing these goals, I always tell the team and the product owner, please, let's try to make our goals SMART. Meaning it should be specific, meaning your goals should be, you should narrow it to what you guys are trying to achieve. It should be measurable. So you define what could prove that you're making progress, something that is measurable and is attainable. Is this a goal that we can achieve within this 2-week sprint, whatever cadence you use? I work 2-week sprint. Some people work 2-week sprint. And is it relevant? Should align with what your value is and your long-term objectives. So if you work in a safe environment, PI planning, the team has team objectives and all those stuff. We try as much as possible to align it to it. And then it should be time-based. So we should set a realistic ambition. In Scrum, it's 2 weeks. So you try to, encourage the team to use the SMART model to, set these goals. And if the goals are clear, the team will always know the direction. They know what they're doing, they don't fall back. Anyone, any additions? No one has any additions to this?
I have a question instead of making an addition.
Okay, go ahead.
As when it comes to the SMART goals, is it feasible only with the product owners, or let's say you're working in a safe environment where you deal with an agile train? Is it feasible? Is it feasible on both aspects? Like you advise the team as a whole, like when writing the SMART goals, or you give advice to the product owner when dealing with the team, dealing with them at the team level only?
Humphrey, go ahead.
Well, you as a Scrum Master is supposed to coach on the SMART goals. And so because some teams may be challenged with it, right? Because most Scrum Masters don't really have that much knowledge or about what's supposed to be at stake. The PO should help with the objectives, right? So especially in a safe environment. So if you want to bring it to safe, PI planning has the objectives of the team throughout the program increment, right? So the PL should be, heavily involved in setting those objectives. You, the Scrum Master, help with the structure. You want to make sure that it's SMART, right? So you want to make sure it's SMART and it's presentable. And sometimes the team, your team lead could be skilled in knowing more about the backlog or more about the program than, even the PO. Again, you, the Scrum Master, help in that endeavor with the PI objectives. Now, your sprint goals, basically, if you understand what the objectives are, sprint goals are, kind of like a derivative of the objectives. And that's something that you set during PI planning. You set the iteration goal, normally just, hey, let's, using the objectives as the standard or what have you, but, trying to attain much of the objectives as possible in a sprint. That's something you can do as well, as far as setting those measurable goals. And also, these things have the team in mind when you do that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Humphrey. Vijay?
Okay, with all due respect to the product owners, as I work to many couple of agile teams here, so the product owners are the most, I can say, the versatile and confused person on the agile journey. Is because of the dynamics involved in the virtue of their position and the requirement and priorities. So that will make product owners get confused or get lost in the priorities. It's the Scrum Master role to always guide and coach product owners so that the objectives of the product vision are met. I agree with the Humphrey. So you mentioned about the SMART goals, and some people they use the one more acronym called INVEST. That acronym also holds good when it comes to a healthy backlog or the priority maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Myla?
So I don't know if this falls into, this question, but I would say setting clear measurable goals also falls between user stories written by the PO. So if you're having a user story that is still so big, like I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. So the last person that said, and it doesn't pass that invest model, then you are definitely setting up your team, for failure in a way. If a story doesn't have the acceptance criteria as well, you are going to have delays, you are going to have times that the team will reach out to yourself to say, hey, we don't have a basic understanding to this, so it's the role of the Scrum Master to make sure the product owner understand, how to put out a good user stories. I've seen user stories that are so big with lots and lots of descriptions and no acceptance criteria attached to them. So this is always created an issue with my team. So if we could have POs work better in those areas, then yes, that is also one measurable goal to help for your team. So
Okay. Thanks, Myla. Thanks for the add the point. So the invest criteria, what I mentioned, it's the role from Scrum Master to the product owner, not to the team. So Scrum Master is working with the product owner to guide him or coach him in order to maintain the healthy backlog. The SMART and invest criteria will be false within that one, but it's not like we have to use this. These are the ground rules. You can choose whichever is best suited for your team and your product vision.
okay, so just to be sure I have a better understanding, an invest model is what you use to pass a user story. So is that something different you're saying?
Yeah, invest means the story should be independent or negotiable, valuable, estimatable, small, and it can be testable. So this is the model I was trying to say. When Scrum Master comes doing the healthy backlog refinement with the product owner. So these are the criteria if we keeps in mind. So that will help us to keep the very healthy backlogs.
Yeah, I think we are all on the same page. Myla, the same thing. Yeah, video.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Any more additions? Questions? Okay, so that comes to the end of my presentation. I've outlined I just used 2 references. I consider this like an official document.